So now you should see Operation Warm and a picture with me way in the back 11 years ago. So not as many gray hairs. But I'm here today. Thank to David for asking me to come to talk about Operation Warm. I'm going to start by telling you my Rotary story, and that picture really represents it. That was the first coat gifting celebration that I went to in early October of 2009. And most of the Rotarians you see there, they're not members of my club, but they're members of the club just south of me, the club, Rotary Club of Wilmette Harbor. That, like your club, has quite a few past district governors, but unlike your club, they're all women. Any rate, I want to talk about my Rotary story because it really exemplifies next year's Rotary theme, that Rotary opens opportunities. In 2004, my wife and I started a retail home furnishings and interior design business in Winnetka, Illinois. It was a career change for me. We were very excited about it. We got it up and running and got off to a pretty quick start. And about a month or two after we opened our doors, my banker called me and asked me if she could take me to lunch. And I said, that would be great. She said, well, how about next Thursday? I said, fine. She said, I'll come by your store and pick you up. Fantastic. So she came by and she said, let's go. So we walked out the front door of the store and we made a left, and I said, where are we going? There's nothing to eat over here. She said, well, we're going to the Winnetka Community House, which is a large community center that's next door to where my store was located. I said, well, they don't have a restaurant there. How do we eat lunch there? She said, well, my Rotary Club meets there every Thursday, and I have lunch there every week. And I said, what's Rotary? Is it those guys with the motorcycles and the funny hats? She said, no, those are the Shriners. It's just a great group of people. You'll meet new friends and have a good time. Let's go. So we went, and there were some strange traditions that they did that I had no idea what they meant, but I had a good meal, and I met a bunch of what seemed to be very nice people, and I got to hear a 20-minute program that was extremely interesting, and I enjoyed myself being away from my store, and I found out later that my employees enjoyed me being away from my store for a period of time, because I just lived the business. That's all I was doing at that point in time. So I was asked if I would come back, and I, of course, went back, and I went back again, and eventually they asked me if I would join the club, and I said, sure. And for the next couple of years, it was my 90-minute respite from business every week, and I got to hear a really interesting program. And I thought I was going to develop a bunch of customers for my business, but it turns out Rotarians are more interested in spending their money on helping other people than making their rooms beautiful. So I didn't get any new business, but I did get a bunch of new friends. Well, that's all fine and good, but then 2008 rolled around, and you might remember what happened in the world economy in 2008. We had a financial meltdown, which turned into a great recession. And if you were in any industry related to housing, and home furnishings is definitely related to housing, it wasn't a recession, it was a depression. It was wretchedly horrible. And I knew that I was not going to be able to survive that. Business just totally went to nothing. So we made the difficult decision to close our doors. So it was a pretty sad time for us. But I was in the queue at that point in time to be the president of my Rotary Club. So there was a day in October that I had to go to my club and stand up and make an announcement that I was closing my business, but I didn't know what my future was going to be. I knew I wasn't retiring because I didn't have the financial wherewithal to do that, but that I would serve the club as president the following year, if at all possible. But they needed to know that if I got a job in St. Louis, I was moving to St. Louis. I needed to go find work. So I went about the business then of closing the store. That took a few months and getting that wrapped up, and then started working on a job search and looking for other things, ways that I could make a living. And in the process of doing that, in March, I went to President-elect training. It was a Land O'Lincoln Pets in the Chicago area. It was the first multi-district pets that our district had ever done. And that weekend changed my life, absolutely changed my life. And it opened up more opportunities than I would have ever thought possible. At that Pets, in the very crowded House of Friendship, it was the smallest House of Friendship I've ever seen. It was a very small room with Russell Hampton selling shirts and backpacks and all the stuff that they sell, and National Awards was there too, selling all the stuff they sell, and the coffee service was in there in a really tiny room. It was a not well thought out plan, but it was packed with people. And there was a man sitting that had half a table with a children's coat on a stick and a flyer. And it was really actually a pretty bad flyer. But the flyer said, your club can give brand new winter coats to children in need in your community, $15 a coat. I said, gee, my club, we don't have any kids living in need in Winnetka, which is where my club is in Winnetka, Illinois. It's a pretty, very well-to-do area. But my club loves to support children and loves to support families living in need. So I thought maybe I've got a signature project for my year as president. So I went back the next week to my club, and I talked to the two people sitting next to me about this. And the woman who was the head of our club's foundation at the time, when she heard about this, she said, oh, we're doing it. We're getting a coat for every kid at Lawrence Hall. Lawrence Hall is a 120-year-old institution in Chicago that is a foster care provider, and they've got a therapeutic day school for kids with mental health issues and a residential facility for teenagers who can't get placed into homes because of their mental health. And it's a great organization. So I said, gee, now I got a project and I got support. How am I going to do this? So I called up Operation Warm. They're out of Pennsylvania. And the executive director answered the phone. At the time, Operation Warm had all of 8 employees. It was serving about 100,000 children a year. And the woman said she would be in Chicago in a couple of weeks meeting with some funders. And she'd be happy to come to my club and make a presentation like I'm going to start in a few minutes. She did that. And she ended her presentation by saying, if any of you know of a Rotarian who might be interested in joining our organization, we're looking for somebody to help explode our relationship with Rotary clubs. We started as a Rotary Club project, but we really don't have a lot of Rotary clubs who are partnering with us at this point in time. Well, I'm looking for a new way to make a living, and I raised my hand and we talked, and 3 months later I went to work for Operation Warm on August 1st of 2009. And since that time, I've had the opportunity to attend countless zone conferences, multi-district PETS conferences all over the United States. I've met so many unbelievably fantastic people. I've served a 3-year stint at the zone as an assistant Rotary Public Image Coordinator, and have participated in countless projects, both leading for my club, but also for my district and helping other clubs in all kinds of different ways. And importantly, I've been directly involved in getting Warmth, Confidence, and Hope to well over 1 million children myself. And since the time that we started, I started there, Operation Warm has served about 2.5 million children with a brand new winter coat. So that's my Rotary story, and it clearly exemplifies how Rotary opens opportunities. So let me tell you about Operation Warm. We provide warmth, confidence, and hope to children living in need. We began in 1998 as a project of the Rotary Club of Longwood that meets at Longwood Gardens in suburban Philadelphia. Jeff Calderat, I can never say his name correctly, who David mentioned a few minutes ago, is in that district. It started as a project that was led by Dick Sanford, who's the founder and CEO of Operation Warm. He was a recently retired technology executive. He sold his business in 1999, smart guy. He saw some kids at a bus stop with no winter coats near his beautiful estate in Chadds Ford, Pennsylvania, which is a beautiful area. And he couldn't believe that there were kids they didn't have any coats on at a bus stop in December on the first day it was snowing. And he just couldn't believe that these kids didn't have any coats so close to where he lived. So he was at his Rotary Club, and he told the superintendent of schools about it. And the guy said, yeah, you wouldn't believe how many kids in our school district are living in poverty. They've got a lot of migrant farm workers there. There's a mushroom industry. So Dick went to the local department store that day, and he bought every coat they had. They had 58 coats in stock. He bought them all and took a few Rotarian friends and a few church friends over to the school and gave them to the kids. And he said, the kids I knew would be happy. I couldn't believe the parents' reactions. They couldn't believe that this guy that they didn't know from Adam was doing this for their family. So the next year, they did another project that was a little larger, and instead of buying them at the department store, he started working with Burlington Coat Factory. The next year, the district governor wanted to do a project district-wide for the year 2000. Let's do 2,000 coats throughout the district. And so a number of clubs helped to fund that, and Dick organized that. And the next year, Dick formed a 501c3 and hired a friend of his who had been in the nonprofit business and knew how to, do grant writing and that sort of thing. And they were off and running. So 10 years later, when I joined the organization, they had grown to 100,000 coats a year, had a staff of 8. I was staffer number 9. And that's from whence we came. In that time, we're now at 3.5 million children that we've served, well over $150 million worth of retail value coats given away. Our organization spends 95 cents of every piece of donation revenue that we receive on programs. Each year we do we partner with about 1,000 different community partners and corporations all over the United States and a little bit in Canada. And we have a very dedicated mission. We provide coats to children who need them, and we do that in over 1,200 communities across the North America. Our coats now, we no longer get them from Burlington Coat Factory. We have them made for us to our specifications. We work with a couple of vendors, primarily in China. We're going to be bringing some coats in this year from Vietnam to diversify our supply chain. Dick Sanford, our CEO, and Stephanie Cohen, who is our CFO, who used to work with Dick back in the private sector. They come out of the distribution and supply chain management side of the tech industry. And so he really understands supply chain issues and has done a fantastic job with this. So our coats have a fleece lining, a detachable hood, a water repellent shell, deep pockets, they're washable, and they come in scores of color combinations and styles. So each child receives a coat that fits them and usually has a color preference that can be met. So it's interestingly, our colors every year change from year to year, and we work with 2 of our corporate partners to help select those colors and specify them. The people at Benjamin Moore, every year they put out the coming year's color palette, right? Well, those same people help us identify what colors to use and then how to put them together. The design staff, the designers at Hollister and Abercrombie Fitch, they're a large corporate partner of ours. They help us put together the color combinations that we're going to have. So the need is great. Before COVID-19 hit, 1 in 5 children in the US were living below the poverty line. Just as an FYI, on a national average, that's a family of 4 living on less than $25,000 a year. Another 50% more qualify for free or reduced lunch at school. That's people who are living at 150% of the poverty line or below. Children who live in need are at a distinct disadvantage in life from children who live in moderate to high income households. They're less prepared to start school. They're much more likely to be reading below grade level throughout school, and they're much, much more likely to be high school dropouts. So our slogan and our belief is that a gift of a brand new winter coat is more than a coat. It provides a spark of confidence and hope to children that helps to empower them to feel better about themselves. And when you feel better about yourself, you're going to perform better, and that shows up in school. I'm going to get this out of here. I like this quote from this boy. I feel like I'm protected for the rest of my life. I can't see this here. I'll go away. There we go. I feel like I'm protected for the rest of my life and the rest of winter, says Billy from Washington, D.C. Our effect, every year we survey all kinds of different people, teachers and students and parents, from our student or our child surveys, we see that 93% of children agree that their brand new coat will help them get to school, even when it's cold outside. 88% stated that choosing their coat style and color helped them feel good about themselves, and 89% said that it helped them to play outside and be physically active, which of course is important. Here's a video that gives you kind of an overview.
So our school is approximately 90% free and reduced lunch.
They come in the mornings for breakfast and they don't have either a coat or a very lightweight coat, and their hands are frozen and their little ears are red.
Schools like ours, a lot of our teachers go out and buy sneakers, teachers buy sweaters, teachers buy coats.
I witnessed half a dozen children waiting for a school bus. It was really, really, really cold. What are they doing outside without a coat on? And I went to a local shop and I bought all the coats that they had and started this program called Operation Warm.
The coat is really cozy, and I feel like it's the best coat I ever had.
It's going to keep me warm. Got muscles with it too.
We give a coat to a family in need. They also receive information about library services and a free library card. It's this really wonderful natural partnership between the library and Operation Warm.
There are people who are just in need, and if we can help do anything to help someone feel warm, and not only warm but love, give them a smile, this makes a big difference, and to show them that we care.
Operation Warm is handing out more than 9,000 coats for children in need.
We're at the DePriest School, and we are giving away 500 coats.
We gave away more than 350 coats today.
And we are giving out 700 brand new winter coats.
This is our 15th year of giving hundreds and hundreds of kids warm coats to keep them warm this winter.
Thank you for letting me have this coat. I appreciate it so much.
I want to say thank you to the people who donated me this awesome coat, because I love it.
Thanks. Shukran. Thank you. And love the coats. We love our new coats!
So that's a good overview of Operation Warm and the types of groups that we work with, et cetera. And you see the kids' reactions. In our current environment with COVID-19 and skyrocketing unemployment, our mission matters more than ever. We know that there's going to be a significant increase in the need this fall. We also know that fundraising is going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge for a lot of our partners who are used to doing events to raise funds. And a lot of our corporate partners are struggling financially, or their businesses are struggling this year. So the good news is we've been able to work with our vendors so that they're providing us with significant flexibility. We are going to have access to 500,000 coats this year, but if we don't get them all funded, we'll be able to carry over several 100,000 to next year and not have to fund them with our vendors until we have the funding coming in. So that's a good thing that we've been able to do it, so that if we're able to, with our partners, get the funding that's required to do 500,000 coats, we can do 500,000 coats, which would be a pretty significant increase from about 410,000 last year. Before COVID, 1 in 5 children lived in poverty, but you've now got 33 million people have gone on unemployment. People that are getting unemployment benefits in states where you can actually access unemployment benefits are faring okay right now, thanks to the $600 a week goose, if you will, that the federal government's giving, but that runs out in about 6 weeks. So you're going to go back to that $300, $350 a week unemployment, and that will run out after 26 weeks. So if the jobs don't come back, it's going to be pretty tough. In a recent news story, 53% of Americans said that they're going to have a difficult time paying their monthly bills because of what's going on. And people with lower incomes tend to have higher health problems, meaning they're spending more of their very limited resources on health or on healthcare costs. So let me talk a little bit about Rotary involvement. You can see here that we have Rotary clubs who work with us all over the country. They tend to be in clusters. There's a lot in Chicago. District 6000, the southern half of Iowa, almost every club in that district participates with us. It started as a district-wide project a number of years ago when John Openfels was district governor. We've got a nice cluster out in the Seattle and Portland area, and then we've got scatterings across the country. And what will typically happen is we get a little bit here, and then it'll start to grow as clubs in a district hear about what another club is doing. From surveys we've done with Rotary clubs, 80% of our Rotary partners partner with schools to get coats to kids. 60% of them do a hands-on coat giving event. The others just send the coats to the schools because it's a mixed population and they don't want to single out the kids. 76% report earning favorable publicity for the club, which of course is a very important thing to enhance the public image of clubs, and the news media loves to cover this story. And 43% get funding through a district grant. So I'll kind of start summarizing here why Operation Warm. You can make a real and lasting impact on children in need. It was founded by in a Rotary Club as a Rotary Club project similar to Shelter Box, and we're now a well-respected 501c3 with great looking financials, run very, very efficiently. It's an easy club service project to execute. You can run the program so you have a hands-on service opportunity, whether it's literally giving coats to kid, which is the most rewarding thing to be doing, but there's other opportunities like picking and packing, or having the coats sent to somebody's business and then distributing them to a variety of places and having Rotarians deliver those coats. This coming season, there's probably going to be a lot more drive-by coat gifting events as opposed to kids actually trying on the coats and people interacting with each other as we try to do social distancing. And you got me. I'm a dedicated staff member who's a very active Rotarian, so I understand Rotary. We do have that some clubs take advantage, a lot of our partners take advantage of. We have a online fundraising platform which your club or any club can take advantage of, where we'll create a page like you see here that's for the Rotary Club of Gurnee. And if you can share that with your members, and then more importantly, get your members to share that with their friends and family, you then can have funding come in that funds your project. It comes to Operation Warm. The donation receipt goes to them, but every penny that's raised is dedicated to supporting that club's project. So it's a way to, I've found that the clubs that are most successful with this program use it as a dedicated fundraiser effort, not necessarily the online, but they're raising money specifically to provide coats for kids as opposed to raising money for Rotary. And they're able to raise money from non-Rotarians and at the same time telling non-Rotarians about what their club is all about. I want to give you one other little piece of information. We are doing a pilot program right now. It'll be completed by the end of July. And after we analyze the results, we may incorporate it next spring or the spring after as a core part of our programming. And that is what we're calling Operation Warm Souls, where we're going to be providing brand new shoes to children. The shoe that we've designed for this pilot program, you can see there is a slip-on, like a Vans type of shoe, gender neutral, so that there's not, for the pilot, we didn't want to have boys SKUs and girls SKUs. We wanted to make it as simple as we could. It's a relatively small number of shoes. We've brought in 10,000 pairs total. And they come in 12 different styles and colors in sizes that would fit a 4-year-old up through a 4th grader. They're packaged in boxes of 12 with a variety of sizes in them. And for the pilot program, it's 300 pairs shipped to a single address. So we've got a couple of Rotary clubs that are doing this with us, a couple of firefighter union partners, a couple of corporations, and then the state of Ohio is doing a fairly sizable program with us as well. Why shoes? Between the ages of 4 and 14, children outgrow their shoe size every 4 to 8 months on average. It's an expense that, you know, parents just can't get away from. They just have to keep doing it. So it's another way that we can address this problem of clothing insecurity, which you know, kind of falls right after food insecurity. And families that are food insecure are likely to be clothing insecure as well. So I want to show you a last video that provides some insight in how children feel about this program.
My favorite part of today was the people and how they greeted me very nicely and how they accepted me as a person. They are very nice people, deciding to go out of their way, buy coats for people who don't have them, and not thinking about themselves.
When you have on a coat and see that a whole bunch of people come out to give you coats, it makes your heart feel warm.
I just really want to thank them because not every day that someone could just help you.
So that's my presentation. Here you see another picture. This is with my club and a couple of the surrounding clubs at a library in Chicago last year. For my club actually was the original club that piloted the idea of a warm welcome to the library, where we use the gifting of coats at a library as a way to attract families that have never been to the library before to come. They come to get a coat, and while they're there, they learn about all of the great programming that libraries have to offer. And we gave kids a coat and 2 books to take home for their at-home library. We started that 2 years ago at my club in Winnetka, and working with the Chicago Public Library. And last year, across the country, we did over 100 different libraries with different partners. So I can take any questions now. I will stop sharing my screen, and David can unmute people.
Or you can unmute yourself.
So, Rich, when you work through the libraries, what's your sense of getting those families actually connected to the library for ongoing use?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And the answer is, it depends on the library. But I'm going to tell you about the first project that the first one we did was at the Chicago Lawn Library in Chicago Lawn neighborhood. And it's a unique library. It's a fantastic library. It's a little small library in this neighborhood that's mostly Mexican Americans or Mexican immigrants. And they had the largest number of people in the branch they had ever had that day. The library brought in a puppeteer. They brought in the Museum of Science and Industry, some people from there to do set a table up for bridge building, playing by building bridges with straws, which is a sneaky way to teach engineering. They brought in a guy in Chicago it's actually the guy who created the jumble puzzle you might have seen in the newspapers, where you have words that are jumbled up and you fill out what the words are, and then there's circles, and then you unjumble that and it answers a riddle in a cartoon. Well, this guy's developed these games that's played on the floor. It's a big set of squares with numbers on them, and there's another one with letters on them. And with the numbers one, the kids throw up, they have to touch numbers and shout out what the two numbers. I know what it is. They throw a plate out, it's a number, and then they have to find two numbers that through some arithmetic function will equal that first number that the plate landed on. And these kids go straight up the thing. Sophie would leave it, but it's helping them with their arithmetic skills, their multiplication tables, division tables, and that sort of thing. At any rate, at that event, we gave away 150 coats and 300 books, and they signed up 119 library cards that day. And 6 months later, 78% of those library cards had been active in the prior 30 days. So for that particular library, it was incredibly effective. Now, there's other libraries where they've done, and they've had less luck in getting new library cards. A lot of it depends upon how good a job the library does of recruiting people that are not already patrons. The easy way for the library is to just promote it to their patrons. But if they're really doing the job in a way that will serve the community best, they're recruiting through partners, whether it's schools or nonprofits or churches that are in their community, to get moms to bring their kids in to get a coat, and then they're showcasing what they have. And you know, a lot of these people have never been to a library before, so they come to realize that there's more than just go there and check out a book.
So has there been an instance where you all worked with the school and had them to had the students along with their parents to come to the library? Has there ever been a model like that?
Yes. Yeah, but the way these typically work is it's the library is not putting any funding into the program because other funders are funding the coats, but the library is putting in significant staff time and planning, and they are the ones who have the relationship with the other organizations in their community. It's interesting, in Chicago, some of the libraries have great relationships with the schools near them. Some have horrible relationships, and it's because the schools don't want to have a relationship with the library because they view them as there's something wrong with the school administration. But the libraries have actually been able to use this as a way to foster a better relationship between the schools and the library because they're bringing something of value to the students in that school through the coats.
I have a question about the online fundraising. With the COVID situation like it is, that seems like it might be a good possibility. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I'm gonna address your question very specifically, and then I'm gonna broaden it out. What we offer is a crowdfunding. So you could create your own with, GoFundMe, for example. And if you have a 501c3, GoFundMe will now give you at no cost. You'll have to pay the credit card processing, but they're not going to charge you a fee to set up a crowdfunding page. We're essentially setting up a crowdfunding page on a platform we've got two of them we're using this year. One's called Classy, one's called Give Lively, which is a great platform for Rotary clubs to work with. And we set it up so you don't have to have the technical skills. We give you a URL, so yours would be operationwarm.org/Overland Rotary or OV Rotary, whatever we wanted to have it after the slash that is in keeping with how you guys promote yourself with URLs. And when the text that would be on the page would be customized to your program, and when we have a template, but it would talk about providing coats to kids in St. Louis County or whatever we wanted to put there. And then your job would be to get that URL out to people. We can provide you with some suggested email, text, or copy to put in there. The degree to which people are going to act on a fundraising appeal depends on two things. How good is your list, the people you're sending it to, how likely are they to respond? And then the second thing is how good or effective is your ask? And there's good ways to ask, and there's ways to ask that aren't so good. What I want to get to on a broader sense is I would encourage all Rotary clubs, I definitely encourage all Rotary clubs to overcome the fear of doing stuff virtually and just do it. I know of a number of, the Rotary Club of Evanston celebrated their 100th anniversary this year, a few months ago. They had a major gala planned. Their major gala got canceled. Well, they took the money they were going to spend on the gala and they hired a production company in Chicago who can do online events. And they ran an online event and they had about 250 people attending the event and they raised $40,000. Rotary Club of Schaumburg Hoffman Estates. Some of you past district governors may know Mike Erickson. That's his club. They had to cancel their annual gala that raises between $100,000 and $150,000 every year. They canceled it on Friday for a gala that was on Saturday because it was the weekend that the state of Illinois shut down. And they went ahead and did it via Facebook Live and they raised over $150,000. People want to help. And there's a lot of people who are hurting, but there's a lot of people who are doing fine. They may be not doing as well as they were before. They're freaked out because the stock market has declined. But there's a lot of people who still have a lot of wherewithal and they want to help. And if you ask them right, in an effective way, they will respond if what you're giving them is an opportunity to make a difference that's relevant to them and that's relevant to the times.
Rich, I remember, I think the first time you and I talked was at the Nashville zone. I think you were, at that time, you were representing, I think that was your first time out representing Operation Warm, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was, I think that was the second or third zone that I'd been to that week, that season, but it was I think it was in 2009 because your first program with us was in 2010.
Okay, so.
In the fall of 2010.
9 would have been Tulsa then.
Okay. Yeah, and I was in Tulsa. The first zone I ever went to was in Minneapolis, and I had no idea what it was. Reading behind the years. But I got to tell you, if you ever get a chance, and you've probably heard this because you've got so many district governors in your group, but if you ever get a chance to go to a zone conference, do it. Do it. I think they're the best conferences in Rotary. This year, unfortunately, we're still going to have a zone conference, but it's going to be virtual.
Yep.
I'm involved and I'll be part of working with Eric Lind on the public image curriculum for that. But you just meet so many cool people who do. It's just astounding the things that people do in this organization.
And I will say that you made a huge impression on me, and how you approached this whole thing. I was getting my feet wet, so to speak, in education at the time. I'm sub teacher. I worked for Rittner School District, which is where our club helps out with. And I saw a lot of the need that you're talking about. And I've since moved over to another district, which everybody in the area would say, oh, they're in a good area. They're at 75% free and reduced lunch. So there is a need, whether we realize it or not, whether we want to open our eyes or not. The need is there. And just as you said, pointing that out to people, sometimes, it's right in front of your face and you just don't see it.
Right. Yep.
Any other questions, comments, thoughts, ideas? There you go, Tom.
Good morning, Rich. Good to
Hi, Tom.
Again. Would you mind if I share your information to see if other clubs would like to hear this valuable presentation?
Of course, I wouldn't mind at all.
Just want to make sure.
No, I would love the opportunity. Do you guys have a speaker bureau on your district website?
We are getting it put together. We just revamped the website, so the speakers bureau is kind of low, but we'll make sure it gets put on.
So if you'd like some help with how to do that technically, we've got one on District 6440. You might want to go and take a look at Rotary6440.org. And we use a tool called JotForm to drive that. And we're using JotForm in our district for all kinds of things now. But it runs itself. Somebody clicks on a link to add a speaker and they fill out a form and they hit submit. And that speaker's now at the top of the list.
Wow.
And we have scores, literally scores of speakers listed on our district site. In fact, the problem is the thing's been around so long, I need to go in and clean out some of the old ones.
Well, if nobody has anything, we will. I do thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely.
I know it made a difference when we were at Show Me a couple years ago, because this last one got canceled, went virtual. But the year before, when we had the table set up for Operation Warm, there was a lot of traffic that went through.
Good. Well, I appreciate your support as an ambassador, David.
It's all part of getting people knowing what's going on. And so anything we can do, I have a feeling we'll be back in touch this year. I will not drop the ball, or somebody else will make sure I do not drop the ball this time, and we'll get it taken care of. But thank you for your time. Thank you for the passion that you have, that you put towards all of this.
Thank you very much, David. And thank you all for listening to me this morning. Did the presentation come across okay in terms of did the videos play through all right?
Yep, great. Yep, everything worked beautifully. You're working with technology, you got to expect a couple little glitches here and there.
Yeah, well, I'm the technology coordinator for my district, so in fact, Tom, you might be interested. We, our district immediately when COVID came around, created a virtual meeting committee at the district level. We have one member of that committee for each of our sectors in our district. And then the district decided to fund a 12-month pro license for every club, provided the club used the Rotary discount, which got it to $120 a year, and appointed a virtual meeting coordinator. Okay, so each club had to do that in order to qualify to get reimbursed for the cost of the pro license. And then we put together training materials. And we continue to add to those training materials, and did Zoom meetings for the virtual meeting coordinators to teach them how to teach their members how to get on. And we've got, I think, 90% of our clubs now meeting weekly via Zoom, as you are, and doing their board meetings via Zoom and all kinds of different things.
Nice.
It is a way of changing life, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, you all have a great week. I, so help me, cannot think of who we have coming up next week.
So
I'll send the email, I'll send the newsletter, and it'll be on there. I just can't I'm drawing a blank on who it is. So I have somebody, I know that, I just can't remember who. But we will, I'll send everything out. And Rich, if you'd like, I can send you a copy of the newsletter that has this in it that you can use for your promo if you want. So I appreciate it. You all take care. Have a great,
thank you very much.
Week. We'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.